Another strategy for mixing is to not use any of the internal Philharmonic 2 processing and do it all in your DAW. Now to do that, first thing you want to do is make sure you're using the multi-output version of Philharmonic. I'm going to switch to it, and in this DAW, it's going to need to reload all the instruments. So this is going to take a moment or two. Let me speed it up for you, and we'll be right back. I wish my computer was actually able to load it that fast, but these things take time. Now within the mix page, we can assign each of the parts to individual outputs. I'm going to start at 3, 4, and the reason I'm leaving 1, 2 empty is just the way that Logic Pro X works. I want to leave the master channel free. So I'm assigning each of these to consecutive outputs, and we'll then be able to access them individually within the DAW. Now, this is somewhat unique for each DAW. They all have the same kind of functionality. This is how you do it in Logic Pro X, but the process is similar in other DAWs. Now I'm going to add on the aux tracks here. And we should play the arrangement now and be able to see and hear each of them arriving at their own discrete returns here within the DAW. So now that we've done that, what I would want to do is remove all of the processing here so that we're not wasting CPU resources. So I'm just going to click each of these and empty them and do the same thing for the returns over here, and then name each of these accordingly, and I'll be right back. I've removed all of the effects processing, and make sure on your returns to bring these down, otherwise they'll go through the main outputs and arrive in your DAW. So with all those down, I can now process in my DAW as I want, and I've set reverb up here, and I've set an external reverb and adjusted my pans and levels. I, of course, can add other processing if I want to, and I've put some T-Racks on the master to get some final mix bus processing, and it sounds pretty nice. I like the sound of running it through the 670 compressor. I'm not really actually compressing much, but it sounds great running through it, and then the stealth limiter adds some final limiting. So that's one strategy for mixing in the DAW. Now let's look at another. If you're using these, what I like to think of as single part multis, like we set up a couple of videos ago, we can mix using varying degrees of Philharmonic's internal processing and your DAW processing. Now, I should say that these multis that we set up, these single-purpose multis or single-part multis, they work best when you're not using key switch instruments. So, for example, you could have staccato flutes, staccato oboes, and maybe staccato violas all in one part, and with no key switching, they should all respond properly to the same MIDI channel, and you can work with one part like that. You could have another multi with, let's say, legato trombones and legato cellos. That could be one. You could have another one with maybe glockenspiel and maybe violins up high and maybe bassoon a couple octaves lower, just for variety. So you can use these single instance multis, and then when you're working in your mixer and your DAW, you have them each coming on one separate channel strip, and you can mix them all together. Now, in this example, I have violins and oboes in this one, and it's coming together on one channel strip. So if I process here, I'm going to be affecting both the violins and oboes together. And in this one over here, I have bassoons and trombones, so I can combine them and mix partially in the DAW while it's affecting both of these together. Now, if you do that, make sure that you're going in your mix window and taking off these effects processes that are used so that you're not going to be wasting CPU resources. So you can bring all these down and then mix within your DAW. Now, the other thing you could do if you are using these kind of mixed multis where there's multiple sounds playing a specific part, what you can do is still use multiple output versions. So for example, here I have the bassoons and trombones here. So if I change this one to a multiple output version, it won't take that long to load since there's only 2 sound sets here. What we could do then is use the auxiliary outputs, and with that, access them separately. So I have bassoons and multis coming through here, bassoons rather and trombones. There we go. And I can click my auxes, and now when I play it, we'll hear them and have them arriving at separate auxes. Let's assign them to the separate outputs here. And I'll put this to 3/4 and this one to 5/6. So there I'm combining the best of both worlds, where I have several multis playing single parts with layers happening, but they're coming to individual channel strips within my DAW, and of course name them properly. So there's a variety of ways of mixing with Philharmonic in your DAW, and these are some of them. And we'll continue with more in the next video.